Things have got a whole lot more expensive recently, and you could well be forgiven for thinking that it's impossible to come to Italy on a budget. But you are wrong. If you know what to do, where to go, and some incredibly useful tips, it is very possible to be thrifty in Italy and have a fantastic holiday. Let's talk about it, shall we? So the first area that I want to talk about is food, because honestly, when you're on holiday, this is where you can end up spending a lot of money, especially if you're in Italy, because the food is exquisite. So I want to offer you a suggestion, and it is to try an aparicenna. This is what an aparicenna looks like if you're not familiar with it. It is basically like an aperitivo, but with a whole lot more food. Now, this aparicenna here cost me €15 and included the drink, which if you consider, if you take an aperitivo, the drink alone, in the center of Palermo itself, you can pay in the region of around 5, 6, 7, €8 even in some places for an Aperol Spritz. So if you consider that the whole of this, including the food, was €15, it's actually a really good deal. Now, aparicennas are not just limited solely to Sicily. You can find them in other parts of Italy as well. Although, of course, in different regions, the price may vary because the north of Italy generally is a bit more expensive than it is here in the south. But it's a great way for you to sample a particular city's cuisine without paying extortionate prices in a restaurant. Now, as you can see from the pictures of this aparicenna, there were lots of little bite-sized elements of typical Sicilian street food and pasta dishes, which means that you get to sample all the different flavors of a particular city and decide what you might enjoy and like, so that you can then go on to eat some more of it later in the holiday. So I definitely recommend this. Now, this aparicenna was based on 2 people, so this is the quantity of food that you typically might get if there are 2 of you in a group. But I promise you, we couldn't finish what was on this plate, so it's very deceiving. And even if you have a larger appetite, this is certainly a fantastic way to have a lighter dinner, shall we say. This aparicenna was taken at Il Siciliano, which is a bar very close to Teatro Massimo, so right in the heart and center of Palermo itself. So, you know, I think it's a great way to have something to eat in a restaurant-like environment without breaking the bank at the same time. So this would be my first tip to you: try an aparicenna. The next tip I would give you when it comes to food is to try to go where the locals go, especially here in Palermo. Quattro Canti and the streets surrounding that are tourist hotspots, and there are lots of restaurants that trade purely just for tourists in that region. So do your homework, because if you understand the more simple, basic Italian pasta dishes, you understand when you are being ripped off and overcharged for them. I'll give you an example. In the center of Palermo a few weeks ago, my boyfriend and I, we saw a restaurant where they were advertising spaghetti with oil and garlic, which is one of the simplest pasta dishes that you can create and one of the cheapest to boot. And this dish, I can't remember the exact price, but I'm sure it was in the region of around 12 to 13 euros. I mean, that is incredibly expensive for what is a simple pasta dish. Now, don't get me wrong, things here are a little bit more expensive now in general because of the cost of electricity and the cost of gas and how everything has gone up in price, but that is excessive. So I would suggest you do your homework and look around, ask for some advice from the hotel you're staying at, ask in shops, just do your research, because honestly, if you go where the locals go, you could expect to pay around 4 to 5 euros for exactly the same dish. So please do your research and follow me here on YouTube, which is beautiful, because if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. I've just started a YouTube short series talking about exactly where you should eat here in Palermo, and it is where the locals go. They are fantastic restaurants and street food destinations that I'm going to be sharing with you. So make sure you subscribe to me here on YouTube so you don't miss those, because these will definitely give you some insider tips about just where to eat in Palermo to save your money. If you are here in Palermo, street food is one of the typical food choices here in Palermo, and it is really inexpensive as well. So make the most of it. You can go to Capo Mercato, which is one of the market destinations here, and you can go to Dinotti's, which is one of the places that I recommend visiting to try arancina, to try pane e croquette. There are lots of different street food dishes that you can try here. Milza, which is at the inside of a cow, but some people like it. And yes, there are just lots of different street food dishes you can try, and they're all really inexpensive as well. Like even in the centre, I was in the centre the other week and I got a pane with croquet and it was like €2.50, which probably is on the more expensive end because I was in the centre, but you'd always pay around like €2, €2.50 for something like this. Arancinas, you can pay anything from around €1.80 all the way up to like €2.50. So really inexpensive, but really filling, and a fantastic way to have lunch out on the go, to eat in the streets, because this is how the people live here. Like, it's just real and authentic. And I think, you know, you've got to try the cuisine of where you're staying to really experience the heart and soul of a city. So even if you don't come to Sicily, research what the typical cuisines are and dishes in parts of Italy that you're visiting, and make sure you sample them, because that is how you will really get to experience what a city is truly like. Now, if you find yourself in a bit of a predicament and you're like, oh my goodness, I need some cloves, I don't know, this could happen on holiday, I recommend trying out a local open market. Now in Palermo, these are held every day of the week apart from Sundays, and they are fantastic. I went to one just the other week, and you can see here I posted the picture on my Instagram account, and I ran a little poll to see if people could guess just how much this haul cost me. Now in this clothing haul, I had like an Adidas t-shirt, a Mango skirt, and some other branded clothing as well, and it was all really, really good quality. None of it was terrible at all, and this was the cost. And it's actually incredible. Like, I think people can sometimes be a bit snobby when it comes to open markets, but they are an amazing place to visit and to experience here in Italy. Honestly, the atmosphere, the people screaming and shouting in Italian, like all the fruit and vegetables, all the different things that you can buy. It's an experience, and it's where you see the locals, it's where the locals go, it's how you experience the true heart of a city. So I definitely recommend going to an open market. If you go to some of the more famous markets, like for example here in Palermo, we have the world-renowned Ballarò market, which is very historic, a bit like Capo Mercato. Just be prepared to negotiate. Sometimes if they understand that you're a tourist, you might be paying a little bit more for things, but if you go there with the mind that you're going to negotiate, I think you'll have a much better experience. But on a whole, markets are fantastic here in Palermo and in Italy in general. So I really recommend trying to visit some during your stay here. Even if you don't look for clothes, you can look for food, you can look for vegetables, for fruit. They're just fantastic places. So definitely go and visit some. Okay, this is another one when it comes to souvenirs. So you've had a fantastic time in Italy, you want to go back home with some keepsakes of your holiday experience here. Do your research when it comes to souvenirs, because if you go to a typical tourist place and you have lots of different souvenir shops, one after the other, you will find the price will vary in all of them, basically. So as I was mentioning before, here in Palermo, we have Quattro Canti, and we have all the neighbouring streets around there where you will find lots and lots of different souvenir shops. Now, I did a bit of an experiment a couple of weeks ago, and I looked at the cost of just a simple magnet in one of these souvenir shops, and then I went into some of the others in the vicinity, in the same area, and in each of the souvenir shops, they were all completely different prices. So do your research. If you see something you like, don't immediately buy it. Have a look in the immediate area, see if it's on sale somewhere else for a little bit cheaper, but be clever. Don't be afraid to look around. Don't just buy the first thing you see. Do your homework, because often in these places, the souvenirs you're looking at are mass produced, so you can often find them in more than one place. So it's definitely worth doing your research to find them. Obviously, if you buy something that's a one-off handmade piece, completely different. But if you're buying a magnet or a hat or something that you could find in any shop in that particular part of Italy, then look around, because I think you'll save yourself some euros by doing so. When it comes to tours and excursions, sometimes it's better to organise your own. And the reason I say this is because as much as it is a lot easier for somebody else to do that work for you, and some destinations, definitely it is better to go as part of an organised group. But in a lot of cases, you can easily get a train somewhere, you can easily get on a bus, you can easily walk somewhere. So plan your own itinerary, but have a look and be realistic. Is it something you can organise yourself? Do you really need to be part of that excursion? And the reason I say this is because if you're coming to Italy on a budget, you only want to pay for what is really necessary. When you pay for an excursion, you are also paying for the tour guide that might be part of it, and you are also paying perhaps a little bit extra because essentially it's a business model, right? They have to make some money on the back of it too. So just do your homework. If it's something that you can organise and plan yourself, I say do it on your own. But of course, if it's something that you feel you need a bit more help with, or you feel more comfortable being part of an excursion, then that's totally different. But just something to consider, because excursions and private tours are not always as cheap as you may think that they are, and perhaps could be even cheaper if you did them yourself. So if you've enjoyed this video, I think you're going to enjoy this video right here, because in this video I share with you some more tips and hints of visiting Italy to help you make the most of this experience, because Italy is a beautiful country and I think you should have an incredible time. So I will see you in the next video.